All right, guys. The great news is that my name's John McLean, but I've got plenty of nicknames. Yeah, it is. Yeah, yippee-ki-yay. You just get in there. It's okay. The great news is they've given us an hour and a half. That's a joke. So I'll just go with this. Thanks, Jeff. Screw me over. Period. The best experience. So I've been doing this since I was 19, and I've spent my whole career trying to build relationships. I've been in the agent channel for most of that time. So I know a lot of you in this room. I don't know every one of you in this room. But I was talking to a longtime partner of mine who hadn't sold any Call One yet. And he's like, John, just tell me what you're doing. Like, what are you guys doing? And why I should work with you guys. And so I started down the line card. Well, and then here's the pitch, right? So the pitch is that instead of just UCaaS or bandwidth or 4G or SD-WAN, just one of those products, we're taking a more holistic approach with our customers. And our best customer is a multi-location customer that has multi-technology. So if it's a single site customer with fiber, we can sell it, but so can everyone else. So where we start to separate from the pack from a line card perspective is multi-location customers with multiple technologies that just want a single person to talk to. That being said, as I was saying that, because my partner is a jerk, he's yawning. Oh, God, like I've heard that a million times. Who cares? What is it, John, that makes it the difference? And I have to sometimes pull from the past to talk about what's happening in the present. And there was a little company by the name of US Elect back in the day. I don't know if some of you remember the name, but you nod your head, and there's probably a good support group in here we could have. Because there was either people that were competing against US Elect or people that worked for US Elect. And if you worked for them, everyone else hated you. And if we competed against you, it was like, oh, well, they're in the deal. We better just pack up our bags and go home. And if anyone would remember the reason why that was, it wasn't because their pricing was the least expensive. Matter of fact, there's a lot of times I would be saving a customer 20% over the US Elect quote on someone's desk, but it was just clear that they, period, had the best experience out there, period. I wish I had two of them, but they had the best experience out there. All right? So is the industry is the partner community pining and screaming and writhing and asking, oh, we need another carrier that can do what you just said on a line card? The answer is no, right? There's several. It's a crowded space. There's a lot of people there, right? And everyone's like at a race to the bottom, right? So we're going to take a little different track, and what we're saying to you is, instead of being the least expensive guys out there or anything like that, we want to really major on the experience. Hopefully that's a breath of fresh air for you. Hopefully that's something different than you've been hearing, because someone's always cheaper, right? And I'm not proud, I guess I am proud to say, we have 0 lit buildings. 0. Because I don't need a lit building. I'll just sell someone who has a lit building. And I'll source that across the U.S. based upon the market and find out what's the best option there, whether it's Cox, whether it's, many times it's Spectrum or it's AT&T. I mean, that account that Nate was talking to you about, they were an AT&T enterprise account. And shocker, AT&T was doing a terrible job at servicing their account, right? And they were telling us some of their turnaround times, and we were laughing about it, like that can't be true. And they're like, yeah, that's how long things take to get done here. So we literally wrote this deal, just so you know this is happening. I didn't have to break out a fiber map. I didn't have to say I have 2 zillion points of presence across the U.S. and in places internationally. I didn't have to go through any of that. All I had to show them was that we were going to take care of you. And that was news to their ears. That was music to their ears. It was music to our partners' ears. And the thing I'll tell you about this is our partner only joined us in one meeting. One meeting. He was there for one meeting. And he said, John, this is this person, IT director. This is the CTO. Go get them. And Nate's exactly right. 5 months later, $40,000 signed contract. Were you the cheapest out there? Absolutely not. That's good news. Guys, that's good news. Make more money. That's why we're here, right? I mean, the lunch is good. The meatballs are good. A special nod to the meatballs. But if we really get down to the nitty gritty, you didn't come here for more meatballs, and you didn't come here to know that my hosted seat's $22.95. Can I just get a yawn from the crowd? Oh, yeah, no one cares. You know what? But you came here today to find a relationship. It's maybe something that could impact your business. So I'm not saying everybody in here has got a ton of multi-location customers that they can go after right away. But to Nate's point, it was a quote for a single site. And he trusted me, and the partner trusted me. And the rest is history. Okay? So we are going to, and we're not that well known, but we've been doing it for 26 years. Real quick history lesson, primarily in Chicago, municipalities, governmental accounts, education. That's been the place, associations where we've really dominated, and we built our brand. And in the last 4 years, we've made a shift and basically throwing everything in on the partner program, and they went out and asked for the very best in the business to work there, and those guys said no. But we said yes. So I don't know if that's second or third string, but we're here, baby. We were started at the bottom, and now we're in the middle. So it's exciting. But we've been doing it for a long time. We mean no BS. We mean that. All right? We're not going to have a business process or silo that we can't break through to get you the answer you need. Well, we got to submit this form in triplicate to these different. We will blow through any of that stuff. You're not going to get the big carrier run around with us, but we will love to run around with you. So basically, it is about the amount of periods in this slide. But and then we also delive, which is it's better than deliver. We delive, then we desig, and we like hieroglyphics. Stop, okay? I see what's going on here. Screw John over. But guess what, Jeff? I see through your guys' plan and saboteurs. Ain't gonna work. I've been doing it too long. This slide looks a lot better when it's right. I'm afraid to go to the next one. Honestly, I'm cringing here. I can only hope yours goes down the toilet as well. So basically, this is our sales process: discover, design, deliver. We actually have a sales process. We'd like to show you what it looks like and share more of that with you. I can't. I think every part of my marketing brain right now is dying a slow death in front of everybody. So I bet your slides are going to work just fine. Probably right. So I'll leave it there, guys. I didn't want to beat a dead horse, but I do want to take the time to build what we're talking about. Okay? And it is about relationship. That's what folks are looking for. We will deliver on that, and come hell or high water, we'll make sure it happens. And if something breaks, because this is telecom and something will break, we will not leave you holding the bag. So that's what I'm going to say. We're not going to leave you holding the bag. We're not going to hide behind email, but we're going to help you win deals and have a great time building the business together. Okay? So with that, giving you guys a high-level kind of cultural mindset on who we are, I'm going to introduce my sales engineer, Jeff Hossman. He's used to speaking to big crowds, so if you really give him a big hand, he'll appreciate that. Jeff, come on down, Jeff. Let's hear it for Jeff. Woo! Yeah.
Thank you. So, as some of you that I know well, I've been in the industry for a good long while, and have supported some of you in deals and across the board in selling stuff. So, I've been with Call One for a little over a year, and have been in the industry for a long time. Have worked with UC platforms like BroadSoft that we all know is kind of clunky and difficult to manage. So in talking about what we're doing at Call One, am I going to sit here and try and argue with you that our UC platform is the best in the industry? Better than anything out there? No. Quite frankly, we're probably more really nice middle of the road. You know, we're on meta switches. We have our own meta switches in Chicago and Dallas. How do I work this thing? And what I will say about MetaSwitch that I love, a couple of things that I love, is the admin portals are really simple and elegant. They're easy to navigate and easy to understand. Like most UC platforms, we've got a desktop app and we've got a mobile app. And I'll pass my phone around. You can see the mobile app if you want to just pass that through. It's simple. Everything's fluid. I will say MetaSwitch does a great job of syncing information between the desktop app and the mobile app. And if you're like me, you spend...
Will they sync and
Something, say that again?
if I delete them all from here, will they sync and
Yes, go ahead. Please, please. Yeah. No, but if you're like me, you're spending some of your day on your laptop, like this gentleman to my right, and the other half of your day you're out on the road and you're on your mobile device. So how many times have you had some kind of chat conversation with somebody and then you need to get back to that conversation, you have no recollection of what the heck you were talking about with that person? Are we there? Yeah. Well, everything syncs across the mobile app so you can remember, oh yeah, I was talking to Pam about such and such a thing. I need to get back to her about that. So there's great little components like that within the platform that make it very easy to use. Like I said, is it the best out there? I'm not going to sit there and argue with you about that. A lot of UC apps do a lot of great things. But as Johnny said, we're here to help you approach your customer from a much more holistic perspective. We're going to dig in and understand what their business problems are, and we're going to build a solution that meets those needs. And so to that end, before I bring Jason, our product manager, up to talk a little bit about our roadmap, I'll tell you about a client we've been working with recently here in the market who sells vehicles. And they've got locations across the footprint. And like most dealerships, they've got a parts department, and they've got a service department and a sales department. And they have challenges sometimes where when phone calls get forwarded from location A to location B, somebody calls in and says, hey, I need to schedule an oil service for my vehicle. And so they transfer that call to the service department. Well, if the call went to Fort Myers, let's say, but got forwarded to Fort Lauderdale, and they schedule a service in the Fort Lauderdale office, does that really help the client? Not much. So we worked with them to produce a solution where they could always know which office that caller was originally calling, so that they could effectively transfer that call back to the Fort Myers service department and get it scheduled properly while they cover the phones from a receptionist perspective. Little things like that make a huge difference for a customer. But sitting down and understanding what they needed to do, how they wanted their business to run, the things they needed to accomplish in order to replace this old Intertel premise-based phone system that they had, gives them the ability to move on to a hosted platform. So those are the kind of things we're doing for customers and the kind of things we'll help you with.
Good job. All right. Thanks, Jeff. All right. Continuing on our smart trend, we're going smarter, one step smarter. We have our product development guru here, Jason Spulak from Chicago, and he's a great guy. He's a runner. He invited me to run with him in Chicago, only to not run with me and basically run without me, which I don't get since we're the relationship period people. But whatever, it's good, and I'm not bitter at all. So anyhow, so Jason's going to talk a little bit about where the UC product is today. He's also going to talk some roadmap things. He has a unique perspective. I want you to check this guy out because he's got a beautiful mind. He really does. He really lives this stuff. He eats it and breathes it. And He's going to talk a little bit about where we are today with this thing and some roadmap items. But again, Jason's got a pretty unique background in premise-based equipment. So I think he'll be able to talk a little bit about that piece. If you'll link that in with the folks and maybe even educate them a little bit on how Call One kind of evolved into the UC space, I think that's helpful. But Jason Spulak, come on, my friend. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, slow it down.
Thank you for that very kind introduction. So I'm Jason. This is my 20th year doing this. I started in 1999 working on premise systems. Okay, I'm inspired by this industry. It's always doing cool things, always changing. Started with digital systems, went to VoIP, now UCaaS and beyond. Where is it going to go? That's what I'm here to figure out. I think that history is kind of what keeps me driving forward. I started as a help desk, answering questions, helping people solve problems. So I'm always looking for trouble, always looking for ways to help people enjoy the technology that they're using every day. So, starting as help desk, moved into technician, moved into project management, network engineering, undergrad, and I just recently, last year, graduated from Northwestern University in a product development program. So it's really given me a lot of different insights on how to attack problems that actually matter. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, but the UCaaS industry is kind of reaching that same apex that premise did a few years back, where all of a sudden it's this commodity and it's a features arms race to nowhere, right? Everybody's busy by saying, yes, we can do that too, but who actually cares? Because if I look at that and I say, I have to cram as many of these features as I can in these bundles, those price points are going to continue going up. And for what? For features that nobody uses, right? One of the ways I like to look at it is, here's your iPhone, Samsung. They're about par in what they can do experience-wise. Samsung can do a lot, but most of the people don't care. Apple takes their time. They say, yes, there's a lot of features out there. Which ones actually matter? Which ones can we implement into our platform that are usable, that are intuitive, and people don't realize how important they are until they've been enjoying from some time saying, that's so obvious, why aren't other people doing that? So that's kind of the approach I take to development and how we're going to move things forward. I like to look at it as a customization. Why focus on just the business when I can focus on the individual end user? Because what happens is anytime you change platforms and you go from one system to the next, you hear that it's another new system. And nobody's paying attention to me, and I have to learn this new thing, and guess what? It hasn't made my job any easier. Well, if I take this approach that we're talking about by saying, let's first understand what your business needs are, let's understand what your pain points, your unmet needs, that's how we get to the things that are significant. That's how we actually get to solutions that matter to people, right? And we know we can't do that alone. There's core competencies that everybody has, and as soon as you fool yourself and say, we're good at all those things, you've already lost the war. Pull out my cell phone again. Okay, Apple has created the experience, but inside this phone, you've got modems from Samsung, you've got screens from Samsung, you've got components from all over the place, but Apple orchestrates. And they present it in a way that's consumable and it's easy, and a vast majority of people prefer this way because it's easy to use, right? That's the same approach that I'm taking. We have all sorts of partners. What's one of the biggest problems that you see in the UCaaS space right now? You have all these capabilities and interesting features, but you've got a dashboard for each and every one of them. Where are we going? As Jeff had said, we're kind of in that middle phase right now where we have the capabilities, but I'm already working with a team of developers that's helping me orchestrate those things to a single pane of glass. So you can say, yes, I can consume these things that I like, the best features from all the partnerships I have, and I go to one place for that. That's really the key. That's really when people, experience is the buzzword, but I'm not sure that people really understand what experience means. For me, experience is not just the touch and the feel and how I use this. It's from the moment that you're aware of Call One and our products, and you purchase that, to the end of the useful life of that product, what happens at each step of the way. And if there's a pain point along any one of those steps, we're not doing our jobs. So every single day we take into account not just the product, because the product is only one piece. It's the experience of knowing about us, to consuming it, and to coming back to us again and saying, what do you have next? So I'm not going to go through the fool's errand of going through the slide deck that's apparently having issues. I just really wanted to profess to you, really, what is my inspiration, because I think the best platforms are the ones that are most inspired. And I'm inspired by where this can go and what your needs are, and as long as I pay attention to that, I think that we're always going to have the best solution for your business. So that's really what I had to say today. If anybody has any questions about roadmap or where we're looking to go, I'm happy to answer. Sure.
Just have one question about, you guys are, obviously you do, the UCaaS side of things, but John was mentioning, the data side, you guys, especially in multiple locations, so are you able to, get coax,
Yes.
fiber, and that comes under the one bill?
Yes, everything is all under one bill. That's the one great thing is we're the aggregator. And in the same way I'm approaching aggregation of products into a UCaaS experience, you can expand that saying, all right, it's not just UCaaS, it's SD-WAN, it's managed switches, it's multi-site orchestration.
Yeah, we, call on, we have our own middle mile network. So we have a 40 terabit network with COs in Dallas and Chicago, Atlanta and Virginia, and then on the West Coast in LA and San Jose. So I can bring anybody's network, AT&T, Verizon, Spectrum, Comcast, anybody's network back into ours, and I can deliver any IP service and or layer 2. And I can resell anybody else's network directly, aggregate that on our bill, and manage that service and support the customer.
And most customers don't care. Some do, but most do not.
Don't care about what?
They don't really care about the carrier.
I just want to clarify that.
Or your
Most customers
PowerPoint.
care about their
Probably not your
Yeah.
PowerPoint, they don't care about. But, yeah, so, the thing is, like, we used to try to hide that back in the day, like, oh, yeah, it's our network. I remember working for a CLEC, BTI, and we were, I think we had 3,000 miles of long-haul fiber from New York to Miami, or something like that. I don't know how many miles it was, but we were touting that so big. And that's great until someone's got 12,000 miles. So some carriers are out there saying, hey, we have 10,000 points of presence and all this in the ground or whatever. And that's a benefit. And there's some instances where that's the best road to go. But we have found typically that like an enterprise customer, they just want it on a bill and to be serviced well. So do it well.
You guys support all, white phones, or are you a Telecom shop?
Yeah, so right now we are focused on Polycom for a couple different reasons. We have the merger between Polycom and Plantronics is super exciting to me because now you have all these wonderful patents coming together, and you're really starting to see that in the way the products are working together. And we use one of my favorite tools is the UC Voyager Pro. You can pair with Bluetooth, or there's a USB connection you can plug in your PC. But now you can also take that USB key and drop it in the back of a Polycom phone, and it recognizes it as a digital handset. Those are the type of things, usability-wise, that I pay attention to. Can I do a cheaper phone with a Yealink and get something out there for a rock-bottom price? Sure, but what's going to suffer? Experience. And we know that because of what the experience has been with those types of handsets moving up to the point. So I don't take product selection lightly. It's how is it going to help the experience? One of the ways that Polycom does that is there's a service provider portal that allows us to go in and take a look at each endpoint, down to the desk. So now when I have an issue with a report of poor quality, it's not just well, check your network. It's let me take a look at this, and I can, from our desk, from our NOC center, look at that phone and do remote packet capture without walking an IT person through how to do that. Why is that important? Because IT departments are way overtaxed. You went from having these huge departments to very few, and their core competencies are stretched so thin that they're a mile wide and an inch deep. And setting up a packet capture for someone who's not as familiar isn't so simple, right? If I can just take that burden away from you and say, because you're using this phone in this way and you work with us on what we tell you the experience is going to be, I can return that experience to you without question. So that's kind of why we've stuck with Polycom to this point. I'm always looking for new avenues, but right now that's where our stronghold is.
Conservative, but the best experience.
Polycom's come out with some really cool stuff these days. I don't know if you've seen some of the new. The 230D. That was the biggest pain point we had. And I think that had a lot to do with SpectraLink and that merger and the divorce and patents and whatnot. Because up to this point, you had to have a primary phone to go with it. And even then, the experience wasn't that great. Now they just released the new one where you can have a single base station and up to 10 phones behind it. So now you truly do have that DECT experience. Our mobile phone, that works really well too. It works in most cases, but some people just don't want to use their own personal devices to carry around calls. Well, here's the solution for you. And you can transfer, you can do things just as simply as you could with a desk phone. I don't think that desk phone hardware is going to be around all that much longer. I have a phone at my desk. I use it for testing. But other than that, I use the Callisto, which is the Vox box if I have people walking in, or I use my headset back and forth, straight off the soft client. So I think my vision, or what I think is going to happen, is voice is going to become something that integrates with everything else you're touching. You're seeing that in smartphones. You're seeing that in smart office appliances, right? Do I have a dedicated device? I don't even know you're going to have cell phones that much anymore. It's going to be part of the products you're experiencing everywhere you go. I will have a presence that's installed in each one of those smart devices, and if I have to make a call or link up to somebody, I'm doing it right from there. I don't have that dedicated device. So that's where, some of my greatest focus right now is in business integration. CRMs are the obvious ones, but the questions I get every single day are, we got this mobile workforce. They're out signing tickets. They're doing these things. Can you integrate with the mobile device? Right now, the answer to that question is largely no, which is a white space for me. It's improving upon that experience where other people have either not given enough credence to or just don't care that much. But I know that you don't care about being able to do SMS and transcription and all these cool things that you may never actually use. You want something that's going to improve your ability to service your customers, that engagement. That's what we're here to do.
It's almost like Complete Choice, AT&T product back in the day, where they would bundle 600 features that no one needed in a line. And if you ever sold an AT&T, you know what that is. But people don't need all those codes, It's
Well,
still around, sorry.
That's why you see we have two bundles to choose from, right? You got your basic, and that's your dial tone. That's your courtesy phones, your conference phones. I don't need voicemail. I don't need any of that. Your standard is all the things you would expect out of UC, right? Your soft client, your mobile client, voicemail, transcription, those types of things. But why do I want to have a million different bundles to choose from when you're not even sure if you need some of this or some of that? Start with one of these. And then what we do is take those other experiences and treat them like apps. My grand vision is to have like a Call One app store where I can say, hey, you know what? I'm starting with this, but for me and my business, I need this, 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 and this. And those are all add-ons I can just snap into your experience rather than trying to give you a whole smorgasbord. You're only going to use this much. Start with these that we know you need, and you tell me how to round that out experience. That's how we're driving this.
We just touched, I think, John, you mentioned $22.95, I'm assuming that's a standard.
That's standard with the VVX 250.
VVX 250.
Yeah,
Includes a phone.
So there's something there. And then, the previous generation VVXs, they're still available, 400s and
What
500s.
if a customer has their own phone?
If they're Polycoms, we can flash them over.
I'm saying, would it be cheaper as far as, I know we don't know.
So what we typically, we don't really have a price without the phone, price with the phone. What we're trying to do is be at a point where it just makes sense to get new gear. At $22.95, I could probably make the argument that, getting new gear makes sense. That, we won't send you to go pound salt somewhere if you've got an application where there's a lot of devices and they just recently made the investment. As long as they're Polycom devices, we'll look at that with you on ICB, but I don't have a printed standard price without a phone. Our goal is to control the experience, and we find the best way to do that because I'm not worried about someone else's existing hardware. That being said, we'll work with you individually on that, and that's how that will go.
What about for the basic?
Basics of
Basics includes the 150, VVX 150, because again, trying to control that cost. Why do I want to give you a 250 for a phone that's just going to hang out in the hallway with a color screen? It doesn't make any sense to me, right? Let's use a product that's appropriate for the specific use case that we're delivering.
And that's basically just like an extension.
Correct. See if I can show you the phones.
$19.95 or $17.95?
$16.95.
Whoa, what a deal. We just dropped it a dollar.
So these are the phones, right?
Get on it quick.
150, you got a 2-line display, not color, monochrome. Doesn't do a heck of a lot, 10100, right? Move up to the 250s. Now you get things like a color display. You get 4 lines to choose from. You get a USB port on the back. 350s, 2 keys, better speakerphone, larger display. Again, 450s where you get the biggest display, best experience as far as like a speakerphone. And you also have the capability to move up to the sidecars. Those sidecars are only available with the 450s. They will not pair with anything else, right? I'm sorry? No touchscreen. I don't know about you. I hate touchscreens. I am OCD with fingerprint smudges. So I brought in my car just for some normal work. Yeah, period, exclamation point, right? Yes, they both do. They both come with a phone.
So for
Two-
$22.95, which is a standard seat with the app, features on your mobile and your desktop, it comes with a 250. That price point's $22.95.
Yep.
That's how we do it. Yes, ma'am. That's how we do it.
Sorry, are those rentals or are those?
They're leases, correct.
There's rentals for as long as there's time.
Gotcha.
And I'm sure you guys are aware, Telecom always has rebate programs. There's one in place now where whether you lease or purchase the phones, within 150 days, you prove that you either have a long-term contract or you purchase these phones, you can get a rebate, depending on the type of phones you order, up to 200 handsets. So that's a pretty significant savings you can get.
But as we would pitch that on the street would be, this is as a service. And that's what we want to go with. We really don't want to get into breaking out an abacus and saying, hey, if you buy it in the 68th month, it's going to be $10. I'm not going to go there. How about we'll just supply this forever and destroy them, and we'll fix them, lighting strikes, we'll fix them, and we really are trying to bundle this as a service. Yeah, for sure.
The more pieces I can control, the more I can guarantee that you're going to have a great experience. So.
Jason, if they want to buy a phone, we'll sell them a phone.
Sure.
Sure we will.
Answer's never no,
Yeah.
right?
That was like, we just see, right? But yeah, we can sell them devices, but I just haven't seen too many people buying them. Yes, ma'am.
On the commission part,
Can't
do
jump the
you
corner.
guys pay the entire, on the entire $22.95, or is that?
Affirmative.
Is it sealed off?
It's
by-
not, it's easy, so I can understand it, because I know if I get it, anyone can get it. So it's, yeah, that's how we do it. $22.95, you get paid the whole spiff on that, and really on that. Yes, ma'am. Great question, thank you. Please.
Contracts, I'm assuming this is 24, 36, you guys don't do 12 month.
Okay, so, we can do a 12-month contract, but who wants to do this for 12 months? I mean, this is such a pain, right? Moving somebody's phones over for 12 months, I don't even know if any of us in this room makes sense to do it.
How about any sort of like, customer satisfaction guarantees, just some
Sure.
customers are like, hey, what if I
Yeah.
don't like the service 2 months in? Or
Yeah, that's a great question. And so we definitely put some proof of concept stuff out there. We don't want to do this all the time, but we could set up like a couple phones and they can, kick them and use them for a little bit, just to, make sure that they're getting calls in and out. Ultimately, we're not the evil big carrier. So if I have fiber on site, I can't be as cavalier with it, right? So if I have fiber on site, there's real penalty. There's a lot of workload for us to provision something that's going to be canceled in 2 or 3 months. But if we don't do a great job, we're going to stand by our product and we're not going to hold somebody forever. So, sorry.
That's right.
Stand by your man.
And it does. It goes back to the experience piece too, because right, if we do a POC, the
POS,
production.
yeah.
So the way we usually approach it is, you sign the full agreement. We can write it specifically with an X amount of days. We can push out 2 phones at this site or 2 phones at that site. And if you're happy with it, we'll roll forward. That means we don't have to rip and replace any contracts. Everything is there. We just continue the deployment. So we approach it that way.
But we'll take the bet most of the time because we're doing a good job. We have a great experience. So most of the time we're willing to take that bet, Yes, we'll implement your service, and if you guys aren't completely satisfied, we'll pivot. Please.
is there a minimum fee?
What do you say?
Is there a seat minimum? There's not, but I don't want a 1-seat deal. And I probably don't want a 5-seat deal unless it's connected to more seats. And I'm just telling you, it'd be better for me to tell you the truth now than you send the quote in and be like, oh, John. So it doesn't mean I don't want your business. It just means that there's a place where it makes sense for us to engage everything we need to engage. Again, a single site customer, we wrote a single site customer this month where, it's 100 call center seats and 200 UC seats. And fiber, that's a single site customer that makes perfect sense. A single site bait and tackle store, I'm not your guy. But do we have a minimum? The answer is no.
No, but we have a lot of deals where we're selling 100 meg circuits and 15 to 20.
Or 10 SIP trunks. I see that all the time. We'll SIP trunk all day long.
So if we're bundling in those other services, we're not just doing all the stuff, then there's more opportunity.
And is there a certain level of fees that you drop in around
That's a great question, and I'm going to let my
Drop in an
salesman
admin,
answer it.
either 908 or 6360, bandwidth support, but we don't have to. If there's a price point issue, and maybe we're talking about, tenancy, and the customer is really price sensitive, does it hamper our ability to support that customer effectively? To a degree, yes. But, we've got the Telecom total that Jake was talking about, that is the ability to do packet capture all the way down to desktop. So, there's other options.
The other thing I'd add to that is a lot of the popular deployment strategy in UCAS is putting Edgewater out on site, which makes sense, or a PepLink, which makes sense. I like the fact that we've lined up with AdTran, not just because I'm old school, and the old school channel banks, but one of the things I like about the AdTran is that it really helps us fix and answer the fax question, because we don't have to do a cloud fax with that, because there's a port on the back of that 908 that's Amphenol right into their existing 66 block. So guess what? We don't have to re-engineer their whole faxing world. Ethel in accounting can still go to her fax machine and do beep, beep, beep on the G3 and send it. Thank God.
And you don't have to chase down ATA issues.
We don't have to chase down ATA issues, and we don't have, oh, my email, what? So like we find it's a better answer to not, you're going to change the customer's environment no matter what with this switch over. But like if you can mitigate some of those areas where everything doesn't have to be new, we find that you can win. And I think the AdTran allows you to do that.
And the S-Tran also provides
QoS.
QoS? Quality service.
Yeah, so what happens is we have a portal, with the Metaswitch. One of the great things, it's a service assurance server. And what that does is if you call us with an issue, you give us a phone number, timestamp, and we can go back to and look at the entire SIP ladder, signaling. If there was a call termination, we know exactly from which IP initiated that disconnect, right? And what it also does is AdTran publishes voice quality monitoring statistics. So right back from where our NOC sits, they pull up the SAS trace, and it gives you a MOS score right from there. And if it's a poor MOS score, we can start peeling the layers back and say, all right, where did this break down? So you can get the answers faster, less finger pointing, quicker resolution time.
Yes, it is COS, and if we're putting our pipe on it, we love that even better, because we can allocate, bandwidth and partition it out within the pipe that we're delivering. So we're fans of that too. The more services we bring in, we just like that better.
And then the other thing with like paging systems and door strikes, it's so much easier hardwiring those in through an Amphenol cable to the device that's terminating right to the edge. So.
Ooh, that's so good. We are going to say it one more time. Door strikes, door phones, all these things that, like, if you're going pure IP, you start scratching your head going, hey, do I go get a Valcom IP?
Is the ATA going to work that day?
Oh, no, let's use that crusty old bogan nasty thing that's been in there for 20 years. We're just going to plug right into that thing.
So you're saying like if you have one of these like Viking intercom systems
Yep.
or any of that for perfect?
Yeah, because with the back of the AdTran, you get, depending on the size, the TA 908, 900 series that we start with, you get a certain amount of FXO or FXS ports. FXO is what we can take in pod signs. If we ever had to, FXS is what we pump out as the analog signal to whichever device, fax machine, door strike, whatever.
Yeah, capabilities are off the charts compared to like an Edgewater deployment strategy, which is probably the more prevalent one out there. This is better.
And it's tough with Edgewater because you have to license everything per port. And that gets really troublesome really quickly. And it's hard to maneuver around those things when you have those type of restrictions. One call. And it's always a live answer. You will not hit an auto attendant. The only time you may get an auto attendant is at night. It's a pager that calls out to whoever's on call. But we are shifting slowly over to the 24-hour help desk.
In America.
We're pretty close there, yeah.
Are there any other questions maybe? If this was yawn-free, I think we did a good job, and I'm happy about that. Hopefully you learned, you laughed, we've cried together, we have eaten together, and hopefully we can sell something together in the near future.